Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith and this is Gloom of Kilforth, a game by Tristan Hall. And before you see a 5x5 grid of locations from the land of Kilforth. Now this video's intentions or purpose is to get you going from the get-go with no delays. If you have the game already, this video will show you how to set up a solo game for yourself, or if you're just waiting for the game to come in the mail, at least you'll be prepared in advance. Or if you're just looking for the curiosity's sake, you haven't purchased it at all, and you're just kind of saying, well, what is this game about? Hopefully this video will open your eyes as to what kind of things you're going to set up, how long it takes to set up, and the gist of things. And what this particular video will not be is not an instructional or game mechanic video whatsoever. So as I go through these steps to set up this whole solo experience for Gloom of Kilforth, I will not be talking about rules and mechanics and how things interplay with each other and all that good stuff. We're going to leave that for the playthrough that'll come through in the coming weeks. And it'll depend on my schedule and things like that, but it is in the works. So we'll just go right ahead with the solo setup and get you guys just as excited as I am to get to playing this. So the first thing you're going to do when you sit down with this game is you're going to obviously open up the box. So the box is amazing artwork. You'll go ahead, you'll crack that box open and do what most people do, which is essentially organize cards based on what just makes sense. So if you see location cards, bundle them up. If you see allies, bundle them up. Titles, items, titles, spells, whatever, you just bundle them up by the backs of the cards. Very much like a typical card game, you can do it that way. Once you've got all that kind of stuff set up, this setup video should hopefully push you towards actually getting it on the table in a quicker manner. So the first thing you do is the map. Now the map wouldn't normally be out like this. Typically you've got it in a pile of location cards. There's 25 of them. There's one that's always stationary and always starts in the middle of the land of Kilforth, and that is Sprawl City. It's your safe haven for the heroes and also where the heroes will start their adventure. So unless otherwise specified, this is where you begin, and this is always locked in as a center location of the world or land. So of these 25 different locations, 24 of them will change every single time you play this game, only in terms of where they situate around Sprawl City. So there's no more, like, it basically goes to 25 cards. There's no more or no less. So you're always using all of the locations, but they could be in any different pattern from game to game. Just something to keep in mind. So this is the setup right here. All I did was essentially took a deck of locations, dropped Sprawl City in the middle, shuffled the locations of the remaining 24, and went from left to right down each row until I had basically laid out a 5x5 grid. Bam, map is done. That's step one. Once you have that in place, you move to races. Races is its own deck by itself. And they're denoted by this right here. It's very easy to see. So if you find those and you pull out as many of them as possible so that you have them available to you. Now the game also says you are allowed to just go through this deck and pick whichever one you want. You could say, I want to be a vampire. I want to be, I don't know, we could just, whatever you want, an orc and stuff like that. You can just go ahead and choose, or you can do it randomly. So I'm just gonna split this for fun. We'll see what we get. Okay, so I got the vampire, but I kind of want to try something else, so I'll split it again just for the sake of it. And we got the dwarf. Okay, so let's do the dwarf. We're going to be the dwarf. That is going to be our race. Okay, so we'll put that aside right there. So now this race deck does no longer needs to be in play. You no longer need it for the solo experience. You can send this back to the box. So that is now gone. That is step two, is determining your race. The next step is classes. Now in classes, it's also very easy to denote those, as they have a special back, which is similar across all of them. And the same thing applies. You can go ahead and choose a class card, or you can draw randomly if you prefer. So I also prefer to kind of go at random and see just what kind of cool things could potentially blend together. So let's just grab the middle one. Okay, priest. So we've got ourselves kind of like a paladin almost, a dwarf priest. So that's really cool. That'll be a nice combination to go exploring with. So now we've got those two things situated. One other thing to note with the race card, there's wonderful artwork on the back that shows the female side for gender equality there. You've got the male side and also the female side covered. So regardless of your choice, you can go ahead and use art on either side. And I think that's really cool and a nice little feature he added in, because otherwise it could have just been a solid back. And he decided on the race cards to actually do female male, and I think that's a good idea. So we've got those set, and that's essentially the end of the third step. We've only got 15 steps total. We're already ripping through this. You can see how quick this can get set up. The next one is Saga Cards. Now, these are going to be all over the place when you first get your decks out and rip into Gloom of Kilforth. So when you first open up this box, they will be in stacks like most card games. You're going to have to hunt through them. You'll find cards that look like this. The key thing to remember here with this is to just look for the title, and you'll also notice Saga Chapter 1. So every single one of them always starts with a title and as well as Chapter 1. Those are the ones you want to start with, and then on the back will obviously be Chapter 2 of the same quest or saga. So Rescue Villagers again. You find the next one in sequence, so Chapter 3, and on the back has Chapter 4, and then you find your finale card. And the finale card, there's always a finale card, and it'll always specify right there which saga it actually attaches itself to. And then on the back of the finale card is a totem card that it basically gets awarded to you, I think, when you complete this particular situation. I think it's only when you complete all of these sagas, if I remember correctly, that you can go after your main ancient. So basically, what you can do is now there's quite a few of them in this game. So I think there's 8 or so. So I've already divvied them up so that I'm ready to go no matter what I want. They're all just in a big stack here. But the rule book actually gives you kind of a leg up and says, hey, if you have a priest, go and do the Rescue Villagers one. If you have a rogue, do the Assassinate Lord. If you do if you get a warrior, take the fortress quest or saga, and then if you're the wizard, do the steel artifact. We pulled the priest, and because we pulled the priest, it says we should do the Rescue Villagers quest. So we'll go ahead and do that one because it's the first one right up front, so we'll give it a shot. So we're going to take those cards, and then the rest of these can just go back to the box. You don't need them for the gameplay. So as easy as that, you've got this situated, and then of course you can take these and just put them off to the right here, kind of out of the way of what's going to be happening in front of you in terms of your character. There you go. So there is step 4. Then we move on to step 5, which talks about skills. Skills come in the form of these cards right here, and they're divided up into different types. So you've got Martial, Arcane, Shadow, and what I think is pronounced Puis. Who knows? Pious? Pious. Okay, let's go with that. I don't know. So basically what you do is you take a look at your class card that you pulled, and you'll notice a keyword right beside the class. There you go. So the one that I can't pronounce is the one that I'm going to be. So you take those cards and you put them beside your character for now. These are going to be essentially what is going to allow you, as you go and you level up over time, they're going to give you abilities. So what I do particularly is I put them in order. So I've got, there's the 1s, there's the 2s, then the 3s, then the 4s, all that kind of stuff. The idea being that every time you level up, you get a choice between 2 different cards. And I don't know if it goes any higher than 2. I think it is just 2. And then you just put them there in your play area where your character is located, and that's it. That's your skills. So that's the end of step 5, and we're already 1/3 the way through the setup. The next thing you do is do sorry, that was the... yeah, that was 5 and 6 actually, sorry, because all the unused race, class, skill, and saga cards are removed from the game. So we know that these right here are going to be ditched, along with everything else we'd already thrown away and I'd shown you earlier in the video. So that's step 6. So we're already moving along pretty quick. Then you do the night deck. This is the night deck that they're referring to. Very easy to find in the box. Look for the backing just like this and put that deck together. Give it a good shuffle. Set it up at the top of your land of Kilforth, and you're ready to rock. Step number 8 is the encounter decks. What are encounter decks? They're very cool looking decks, and they have very, very cool artwork that correlates to the locations on the board. So when you look at something like the Barren Waste, sorry, they're purple in shade, you know that you have to go to the Badlands deck for that particular encounter. So they're color coded based on all the different locations in the game. So there's Badlands, there's mountains, there is plains, and there's forests. Okay, so you're going to take those, very easy. Just look for the backs that correlate to those different decks, give them a shuffle, and lay them out like so. Done. Then you move on to the reward decks. On the right-hand side, you're going to put out your rewards, which are things like allies. Again, look for the back that specifies ally. Same with title or items, I'm sorry. And then go to titles, and then go to spells, give them a shuffle, and you've got your setup in terms of reward decks. Now the cool thing about reward decks that you do when you start the game, and I'll just do this now because I think it's actually the next step, which is step number 10. is the hero starting rewards. And what you do for hero starting rewards is, and this gets confusing because it is very easy to confuse how you pull these cards, but there are 4 decks that you can pick from. You're allowed when you start a game to go ahead and choose 2 from any one deck, and then from that deck, you can from those 2 you chose, you can keep 1 only. So you can take 2 cards essentially, but you can't split them across 2 different decks. You can't say, I want a title and I want an item. You have to say, I want 2 titles or I want 2 items. And then when you pull those 2 cards, you have to choose which one of the 2 cards you want to keep. So in this case, because I am a priest and I am a dwarf, it looks like my strongest abilities come from, I believe that would be willpower. Now my question would be is whether or not willpower would be more useful from I don't know if spells are necessarily from willpower. Spells are likely from this one up here, which I'd have to figure out the symbol, but it looks like a lore-ish type symbol, or intellect, something along those lines. You've got combat, you've got kind of an observation-ish type, and I'll get more familiar with all of these when we get into the gameplay, but as of right now, I'm a little bit new to this as well as you guys, so when we're talking about this, it kind of looks like willpower or perception, and if that's the case, I'm going to probably go for something that's going to boost that and make it even stronger. Potentially, or I could try to balance myself and make myself more of a fighter, so maybe we go for an item. So I like the idea of doing items. Let's go for 2 items because my combat as a dwarf is just a 3. So let's go and grab 2 items. We're going to flip them over, and this is going to be our hero. These are essentially going to be rumors that we know are out in the land, and we're allowed to go out and explore. And if we go to either the Wretched Bog, which is located, you can see is denoted right at the bottom of the item, or we decide to go to the Rolling Hills, then we can attempt to gain these items. So these essentially are sitting in your hand is the best way to describe them. They're not in play in your area, or at least your player hero area, until you actually acquire them through like an encounter or some type of game mechanic, which I will get into when we get down to that, when we get to that point in the rules. But for now, I'll leave these face up because I'm going to take a look at the rules myself and pick which one of the 2 I want to keep. But for the purposes of this solo setup, we no longer really need to talk about it. Just remember, go ahead and take 2 from whichever deck you want, and then go ahead and choose one of these 2 cards and put the other one at the bottom of the deck it came from, and you're good to go. That is the 10th step done. The next step is standees. Standees look like this. There are a bunch of them in the game, and they correlate actually to the class, I believe. So it's a little bit strange, and there's been some comments that a lot of people believe that these should be correlated to the race card, and I agree with that, because if it's correlated to race, race is one of the biggest things that would change your appearance. A class doesn't necessarily change your appearance, maybe clothing, but a race sure as heck changes your appearance. So I think just in terms of unique identifiers for the tokens, I think maybe in the future Tristan will think about a possible expansion using races for, so in other words, I would be a dwarf as my token rather than using my class. So basically look for your class and look for your picture, and then you can find out what you're supposed to pull. So there I am right there. That's good enough for me. So you grab this. Then, of course, you have to go ahead and pull a standee itself, which there is a bunch included in the game. You pop this on, and you put yourself, as I said at the very beginning of the game, in Sprawl City. You always start right in the center there. So that's where you go. And that's essentially step number 11. Done. We're almost through the whole thing. The next thing is tokens. So there's a whole bunch of bags of tokens in the game, not too many. There's maybe 6 or so. They're all kind of divided up. So you've got things over here. This bag of tokens is for, I don't even know. I'm drawing a blank on this one now. So I kind of feel bad. This one I believe is for going undercover. We've got health for hearts, obviously. This is for action points or APs. We've got the blue ones here, which I'm not 100% sure of myself. I believe these are fate tokens, so we'll find out what the game mechanic is about those. And of course, gold. So just big tokens for gold. The white ones, I'm drawing a blank on what they are, but I believe they have to do with I think it has to do with stuff that impacts the actual locations themselves, maybe some type of weather effect or something along those lines. But we'll figure that out in the solo playthrough when we get to that. But the thing that's important is you still need to get those tokens as necessary in your hero area. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have 4 hearts in your hero area. Well, why do you take 4 hearts? You take 4 hearts because your character has a 4 right next to its race card, giving it 4 hearts. So this is going to be your health, essentially. And you could just drop them there, you can drop them beside it, whatever you choose to do, whichever works best for you. And then on top of that, you take fate tokens. Now, fate tokens look like this. They're kind of like a blue hourglass type style tokens. So you take those. I'm not too sure what the mechanic is behind them, but we will look into that very, very soon. And then after that, you grab yourself 1 gold. Well, why do you take 1 gold? There's a 1 gold denoted right on the race card itself, so that's how you know you take 1 gold to start. And then you take 4 enemy tokens. These tokens are basically your way of identifying enemies throughout the game that are an enemy to you. And it's really cool mechanic because I'm assuming if you're playing with multiple people, one enemy may or may not be targeting everyone that's there. It may only be angry at you based on your actions. So this is a way of putting it on the map and saying the enemy that's at this location is an enemy to me because I'm using the green enemy tokens. So put those in your player area, so your hero area, so they're ready to go. And that's the end of step 12. So we're doing pretty good. The other thing you can do is there's also these AP hearts that are black. You might be thinking, what the heck are these? Why is there another set of dark hearts? These are basically going to track AP, so action points. And so they're also kind of correlated with health points. So you can think of them kind of being on top of each other. And the game has mechanics, which I will not get into in this video, but essentially when you spend an action, you take one of these black things off of your card just to denote that you've used an action. And of course, you can only have as many actions as you have health. I shouldn't say of course, but that's the way the game works. So if you've lost health, you're losing action points as well. So it just thematically makes sense that you're slowing down in your options the more you get hurt. And of course, the more you gain health, the action points come back. It's the best way to kind of sum it up in the quickest way possible. After that, that's essentially all of step 12. So now we have 3 more steps to go and we're good to go. The next one is the Ancients, and one's a little interesting. So with the Ancients, how this one works is you're essentially going to get, you're going to put yourself together 2 piles. One's going to be the 4 Ancients that are included in the deck, so you can flip these over like this, do a little shuffle, and pull one. I already know which Ancient I'm going to pull, and you're supposed to do this without knowing, but I'm going to go for this guy. He looks really, really creepy, and I think he's going to be awesome to play against. So I'm picking this guy as our Ancient to go after. Now, typically you wouldn't pick one, but just because I'm playing this solo and on camera, I just chose him because I think he looks cool. But typically you put them face down so that the backs are showing like this, and you would shuffle the 4 and pull one randomly. And then at that point, what you do is you take your Ancient one, or not your Ancient one, but your Ancient, and you put it up top here so that you don't forget. So this one, or these 3 that we're not using, again, can go back to the box. You're not going to see more than 1 Ancient in a game. So this Ancient will sit up here. Then you're going to go and grab this massive pile of cards, and you're going to sit there and say, what is this? What these are essentially is they correlate to the Ancients, and they're very easy to specify based on the title. So we're looking for this particular guy, the Abyss of Penance. And so we just have to basically move along here until we find that. And I think I just found it. Here we go. This is it. So, and I've already put them kind of in order to make it easy for me to find. What you want to do is you want to find, because there's 4 Ancient cards, there'll be 4 of these ability cards. Find these 4 ability cards that correlate to the 4 Ancients, put them in order, and then also look for the quests that associate themselves to each Ancient. So in this case, you can see Abyss of Penance, and then down below here it says Abyss of Penance. There'll be a whole bunch of them that are kind of correlated to that particular Ancient. Just put them all in a stack, and you want to pull all those into the game and take all the ones that have to do with other Ancients. So for instance, Prince of Ruin we're not doing, and you can see Prince of Ruin quests. So we don't need to see any of those. So they're all going to go away along with the other 3 Ancients we're not using. So there you go. You've got your kind of your ability. So then we have essentially this card here. We'll make some space and break this out like this. So we'll have the Ancient's ability card here. There's the quest cards here, and the actual Ancient himself up top there. And we're good, I think. Now, the other thing you do in this step is you shuffle the Ancient cards face down, draw one, place it face up beside the map. We did that in the... let me see if there's anything else. Yep, and we're good. That's it, actually. So we move on to step 14. In step 14, you want to do plots. Now, plots are what I already... did I talk about plots? That's a good question. Or am I going crazy? Where are the plot cards? Are they the ones? Oh, sorry, these are the plot cards. So I was getting a little bit ahead of myself, guys. These are plot cards. So if you're confused as to where these come from in the first place, because they look like this, and there's obviously a pack of these or a group of these for each ancient, just put them all in a big pile and then just sort them by the subtitle of the name of the ancient, and that way it'll make it real easy on yourself to pull them out. But essentially these are plot cards, and you're just going to take those plot cards and you're going to drop them essentially face down, kind of like right up here. So they shouldn't be showing, and I'll probably shuffle these as well. And then this ability card, you're going to have this turned upside down like this. You cannot see it. And then you actually have your ancient, who's going to be up there as well, who's going to be the pain in your backside. And he's going to sit up here with like so you can do it like this. This is exactly matches the rule book, although I got a little bit less space based on my wonderful dice there. And there you go. So that's it. It's really not that bad. And yeah, we've gone for 20 minutes, but I've also added a little bit of extra detail in there that doesn't need to be said. Obviously, you need to get your 6 dice ready. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just put them there for looks and cool factor, but you will use probably more than 6 dice in this game. We'll see as we go. That is step number 14. And then lastly, step number 15, you give your first hero token to the first hero. When you are playing solo, it's very easy. You just take the first hero token because you will always be the first hero. So this is going to end the video for the solo setup of Gloom of Kilforth, which is a really, really, really cool looking game, and I really can't wait to get further into it to find out what kind of meat is behind this thing. I really, really dig the artwork and the look of the game. It really has drawn me in location-wise. It'll be interesting to see when things start happening, like encounters and all this stuff, like what kind of story this really creates. And that's really why I was interested in the game in the first place. It's not just because the artwork looks incredible, because the artwork came very late in the game design phase, but the actual gameplay of building out basically a massive RPG, but doing it in a card-based form, seems to be something that like is right up my alley, and I am very excited to play this. So I hope this run through or solo setup really helped you out to get this game to the table quicker. And I basically cut out all the rules talk and everything else to get right to the point. So in the coming episodes for Gloom of Kilforth, we will do a solo playthrough with one individual. I believe we will keep what we have here, so a dwarf priest, and we'll also determine which of the 2 items we want to keep in our hand. Again, if the item that ends up being in our hand is, I believe, becomes a rumor, which then we don't necessarily have, but if we go to one of these locations, depending on which card we keep, we can potentially obtain it. And we'll find out more about that later. And then, of course, we'll go on our wonderful journey to rescue the villagers in the land of Gloom of Kilforth. We'll read the storyline and get right into the plot. So if you guys are excited, as I am excited, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you want to see more. I will be looking to start running with this probably within, I don't know. I don't really want to put a time frame on it, really, because I got a lot of things going on currently, but I can tell you, as long as I got the support of the people here on the channel wanting to see more, I will put more out there. So let me know, and I look forward to you joining me on this epic adventure, and I will for sure be asking you guys to chime in on what we do during this journey. So until next time, guys, thanks again for watching, and keep on rolling solo.